On June 29, 2023, the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action, stating that it violated the 14th Amendment under the Equal Protection Clause. But did it? Let's find out on the next episode of Blac-Vocracy. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Blac-Vocracy. I'm your host, Jibreel, Rashad, and I want to welcome you all to the very first episode. As we expand this particular podcast, we're going to be talking about social, political issues, financial literacy, and civility. So tonight I want to talk about affirmative action. This particular program was put in place to help prevent the discrimination that had been going on for years. So in 1961, we know that former President John F. Kennedy mandated all federal governments to disregard those who had federal government contracts if they discriminated against those minorities based on race, creed, color, and nationality. Now, sex wasn't included in the original agreement, but we know that came on later on. Fast forward to 1965, Lyndon B. Johnson executed that order. I think it was 11264. 11264 actually implemented affirmative action. And so here we are today. Now, again, on June 29, 2023, the Supreme Court struck it down. But why? And why the big lie? Because if we're saying that we have to level the playing field, okay, that would be one thing. However, we didn't implement this. African Americans didn't implement this. That race was already implemented a long time ago. So now you're trying to convince us and tell us that after 58 years, that it's supposed to erase 200 years. And if you factor in the 1600s, we're talking over 400 years. That would be like you and I running in a 400-meter race, and you only have 100 meters left, and I'm just in the starting block. Is that fair? Is that leveled? No. See, I understood this a long time ago, a very long time ago. And by the grace of God, I've been self-employed, running my own business since 1996. No, it haven't been easy. Haven't been easy at all. But at the same time, I like the fact that I'm able to hire myself. And here's another thing to think about. While you're always trying to erase affirmative action, let's not be forgetful about those particular towns and cities that was trying to do away with programs like affirmative action, like Black Wall Street, Rosewood, and many others. Again, we didn't implement this. And now because you had a few famous people, actors and actresses, who was paying admission to ensure their little white privileged daughter or son was able to get into certain colleges, now you want to do away with affirmative action. Now, truth be told, I must admit, I have grappled with the concept of affirmative action. But at the same time, I do understand, because that field is like a cliff. It's like running off a cliff for a lot of people, a lot of minorities. Now, of course, I don't consider myself to be a minority. I just don't, because I listen to the language very well, because I'm not minor. No, I'm not minor at all. I'm major. So consider me to be in the majority, because I'm major. Don't allow people to put you inside of a box. Yes, don't allow people to put you inside of a box. We've been down this road many, many times before. There's no use in falling out in the floor. We understand the dynamics, which is one of the things that started me on my journey many, many years ago, to take a look at the whole operation. Ever since the Atlantic slave trade, we all know this was about commerce. Then you implemented your United States Constitution, which was nothing but a social compact of a contract, where 55 white men went into a room and had an agreement, and made an agreement that we would not be a part of that contract. And for those who think otherwise, read your history, study your history. There is a Supreme Court case called Dred Scott versus United States, right? 1854. And they ruled in that particular case that African American people or Black people at the time was not a part of this system. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but that was overturned by the 14th Amendment. Really? And check the 13th Amendment when it talks about being duly convicted. That slavery is involuntary unless you've been duly convicted. And you want to know why come there's a high mass incarceration rate. Okay, so if those of you who want to come through the 14th Amendment and call yourself a citizen, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But at the same time, things like I'm down, you need to make sure that you're in a position to negotiate from a position of strength, not a position of weakness. This is no time, because the affirmative inaction is no longer in your favor, to fall out on the floor and stomp your feet. It's time to pick yourself up by your boots and go out there and hire yourself, because they're telling you exactly what's taking place. They lied again, just like they've lied in the history of this country. We know that. They lied to the Native Americans, broke all treaties. And they was only just trying to do a little bit coming out of the 60s just to. But now those days are over. So for those of you who are out there starting your own businesses, those of you who are out there being really creative, those of you who believe in entrepreneurship, continue down that road, because your mind, your strength, your DNA does not reside on 9 people going inside of a room to make a decision. You get your power and strength from the Most High God. So that's all those things in place, because we don't know. We don't know what all went into it, but I can guarantee you, if you study and look close enough and follow the money, I guarantee you it was a money thing, which is one of the major reasons why I wrote a book like this, The Field That Wasn't Leveled. The Field That Wasn't Leveled. And until we're able to get this field leveled, we're going to continue to be faced with the same thing, because again, there's distrust. It's distrust. And that's exactly what it is. How do we know? Look at the NFL. You have the Rooney Rule. How's that working out? Sure, they got a couple of millionaires out of it, and they dangle little carrots in front of us, and we just fall for it every single time. But what about the power structures that be? The NFL is made up of 57% of African Americans and 28% of whites, and yet you have no minority participation, unless you want to count Mr. Khan, who owned the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's your prerogative. But at the same time, I think we need to do away with that too and go back to the table of renegotiation. We need to have Black ownership and Black representation in the NFL. So I want to thank you all for joining me on another episode of Blac-Vocracy. We're going to keep pumping this information out, because we want to get you some information that's going to raise your horizon, as well as satisfy your mind, your intellect, and your soul. So thank you for joining me on this particular episode. Like I said, we're going to be uploading these things weekday. So stay tuned for more information regarding Blac-Vocracy, the podcast. We're back on this platform, and I look forward to dropping another video real soon.